as in the episode where I talked about banned books, I decided to wait a bit for tempers to cool before tackling today's topic. But after watching videos, reading some comments and watching certain types of interviews, I think it's a good time to delve into some aspects. Hello everyone, for those who know me, welcome back, and for those who are new here, you are very welcome. I'm Irene Riderelli and this is Into the Books. Maybe what I said in the brief introduction gave some of you a clue about the topic of today's video, but for those of you who have no idea what it is, I'm going to get right to the point. We are going to talk about a very hot topic these days, Snow White. As you know, it is not my style to try to impose a way of thinking on people, much less to push them towards a certain opinion. I firmly believe that since we all have minds, we should use them to form our beliefs and thoughts. But to do so properly, we need accurate information. My purpose in making this video is to provide you with what I, in good faith, believe to be reliable information, but in this particular case, more focused on the origins with notes of comparison to the current version. After more than a year of controversy, the Disney-produced Snow White, starring Rachel Zegler as Snow White and Gal Gadot as the Evil Queen, finally hit theaters. With all the controversy surrounding it, is this movie a success? Unfortunately for Disney, it is not. In fact, it's shaping up to be one of the biggest box office flops in the company's history. But let's face it, this isn't an unexpected failure, is it? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was released in 1937 and is based on the German fairy tale written by the Grimm brothers in 1812. I mention this because it is a fundamental part of my analysis. In an interview, Rachel Zegler basically said that the animated film was obviously outdated, that the Prince Charming was stalking Snow White, and that in this new version, Snow White would not dream of love. If I could, I would like to ask Disney why? Why did they decide to take a cornerstone of animated cinema like Snow White and strip it of its identity? Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm were two folklorists and linguists who, in addition to Snow White, wrote other very successful fairy tales as Hansel and Gretel, Sleeping Beauty, Rapunzel, and others. Their period of activity dates back to the 19th century, and as you can imagine, the uses and costumes were very different from today. In fact, the Grimms never intended their stories be for children. Their tales are about children and families, and they struggle to survive in the terrible circumstances in which they lived. The Grimms knew that the stories and morals of the German tradition were originally passed down orally, and they tried to preserve them before they were lost forever. The Grimms make a unique contribution to folklore by collecting these tales, and in fact UNESCO has included the children's and household tales in its Memory of the World registry. The Grimms were very interested in ancient German epics, tales and literature because they were convinced the language and history were the most natural and pure forms of culture that had society together. They thought that modern writing, though rich, was invented so it could not capture the true essence of folklore culture, which was born out of people's experiences and bound them together. Therefore, all their efforts were focused on making these historical accounts known. In short, the stories of Brothers Grimm were based on the experiences of the people of the 19th century. I know that what I'm going to mention below is hard to believe today, but at that time, especially in Germany, it was almost impossible to find people with darker skin in the big cities, let alone in the small towns where the Brothers Grimm set their stories. So choosing an actress whose skin color is noticeably darker than the German population of that time is Disney's first big historical mistake. It is worth mentioning that experts believe that the character of Snow White was based on Margaret von Waldeck, a German countess who lived in the 16th century. Margaret was known for her beauty, had a stepmother who was very cold to her, and was in love with Philip II of Spain, a prince. Margaret died suddenly and unexpectedly at the age of 21, apparently poisoned. Walt Disney himself adapted the Brothers Grimm tale to bring it to the big screen. I'm not going to tell you all the differences between the original version and the 1937 adaptation because this video would last 2 hours. But what I will tell you is the part where Snow White is awakened by the prince's kiss, which, besides everything, it is one of the iconic scenes of the movie. But when I watched Rachel Zegler's interview, I got the impression that this part, more than bothered her, she disliked it. In the original Grimm's version, Snow White was not a girl who needed a man to save her. She feared for her life because of her wicked stepmother and once almost died, but fortunately, the piece of apple in her throat was removed. The prince saw her body in a coffin and asked the dwarf for it because he loved her very much. The dwarf reluctantly gave the casket to him. As the coffin was being carried away, it fell, and with the fall, the piece of poisoned apple was ejected from Snow White's throat, and she awoke. She and the prince returned to the kingdom to be married. So the kissing thing was a Disney idea, which, to be honest with you, I adore because I can't think of anything more beautiful than being saved by the person who loves you and whom you love in that intimate and sweet way. The kiss is the oldest gesture of love. It is not limited to the mere carnal contact of two mouths seeking each other, but it longs for something deeper and more mysterious. This act implies a desire of total fusion between two physical worlds entering into intimacy with each other. For the future, we all know that this is not 1937, but I think most of us would agree that true creativity is doing something new. In the case of cinema, very few remakes have been successful, and that is because the original versions were a hit because they had just the right elements to appeal to the majority of the public. There are iconic films in the industry that cannot be remade under the guise of modernizing them, eliminating much of the original essence of the film, and still believe that it will be as successful as the original. Thank you for joining me to the end of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it all. Please let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. I would love to read them. And if you haven't already done so, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share this video with someone you think might be interested. As usual, I'll see you next time.